And I'd like to welcome you all to our Tuesday 1:30 p.m. session with UDC Snap Ed once again, where Cassidy and Chef Herb will be talking about reducing sodium with herbs and spices. So I look forward to the presentation and the live cooking demonstration that they will be offering today. I'm going to read our disclaimer before we get started. See? The WildTech DC Senior Digital Equity Program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the information, any apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatments, or legal advice. Thanks so much for letting me read the disclaimer. If you cannot see us, hear us, or see the screen, please let us know in the chat. Let's make sure to keep our TVs and cell phones in mind, and always make sure you take notes and or screenshots so you could review the information for later. But again, this session will be on our YouTube channel, so you could review and rewind as much as you'd like. Cassidy and Chef Herb, if you could introduce yourselves and your topics for today, we'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming on, and make sure you all stay on for our polls at the end. Please take it away, you guys.
Thank you so much. My name is Cassidy Whiteman. I'm a program coordinator with causes at UDC with the Center for Nutrition, Diet, and Health. And I'm joined by my colleague, Chef Herb. I'll let him introduce himself as well.
Hello, everybody. This is Chef Holden here, Center for Nutrition, Diet, and Health Program Coordinator for SNAP Ed, and I look forward to doing this cooking demonstration for you guys today. Thank you.
All right, so I think you guys have been with us before, so it'll be kind of the same. I'll share a short presentation with you all, and then Chef Herb will have his cooking demonstration. So at any time, as Mr. Bell said, if anybody has questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, put something in the chat, whatever you would like to do. I am going to go ahead and share my screen for our presentations. Give me one sec.
Yep, and Cassidy, if you'd like to ask the group any questions, like have you done X, Y, and Z, you can also do that, and then they can raise their hands as a show of whatever you ask them. So please also feel free at points if you'd like folks to ask questions. Please feel free to do so.
Perfect. We do have a few things in here where we have a few questions and you're more than welcome to share. We do find that a lot of the time we're here to kind of teach what we know, but we learn a lot from experiences that they're coming with. So we will go ahead and get started. Chef Herb, I think I saw my connection go a little faulty. Just let me know if you can't hear me. Sorry.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you. Okay, so again, we are with the University of the District of Columbia, the College of Agriculture, Urban Sustainability, and Environmental Sciences. We are funded by the USDA, and this is kind of just a little bit of our own disclaimer. This is the information you would need if you feel like there has been any kind of discrimination on the call. This is information that you would need. We hope that doesn't happen, but of course, we want to always have this information here for you. So today we're talking about reducing sodium with herbs and spices. So I think we kind of know at this point, we're being told kind of as a general rule to reduce our sodium a lot of the time, that intake. But one way to do it, especially with our cooking, is to use herbs and spices instead of just our regular salt. So we're going to talk a little bit about USDA My Plate, which is what we teach from. Setting goals. So this is something that we like to do with SnapEd and something that I just wanted to touch on a little bit. We'll talk about some of the basics of our herbs and spices, some benefits, storage, things like that. And then we'll have a little bit of a cool down and we'll have our cooking demonstration with Chef Herb. We do have links in the presentation and we will send this out for you all as well for the recipe. And I'll put the recipe in the chat while Chef Herb is making it, so you can follow along if you'd like. But we will have them here for you as well. Okay, so again, something that we really like to do with SnapEd is talking about goal setting. And this is something that when we're coming into a space, a lot of the time we're talking about kind of wellness goals, whether it's with our nutrition, our physical activity, our mental health, all the different things that we kind of think about when we talk about overall wellness. So when we're thinking about goal setting, we like to use SMART goals. So we want our goals to not only be something that is kind of like measurable, achievable, relevant. So what do I mean? For example, if we're thinking about a nutrition goal for ourselves, maybe we have the goal overall that we want to be healthier. That's a great goal to have. But sometimes when we think about that, it's a little bit hard to figure out, okay, then where do I get started? So what we want to do is when we're thinking about setting goals, we can actually get them pretty specific. So the first thing will be, all right, maybe I want to overall become healthier. What's one thing I can think about? Well, maybe you are someone who, as soon as you make your food, before you taste it, you put your salt and pepper on, no matter what. You grab for them. I'm gonna be honest, that's my dad. I've gotten him to be a little bit better, but no matter what he has, who makes it, he kind of reaches just I think out of habit for that salt and pepper as soon as he gets his plate. So a goal could be, okay, maybe I want to reduce some sodium. Um, and then something very specific is maybe when I have my food, I taste it first before I reach for that extra salt, the extra table salt. So it's measurable if, hey, I can actually look at this and feel a difference when I'm eating, feel a difference in my body. Something again that's achievable. So something like that, that's an achievable goal, right? Just for us to, the only goal we have right now is to think about, okay, when I'm sitting to eat my food, I'm not going to immediately reach for that. I'm not saying you're not going to salt and pepper your food, but it's just not the first thing you're going to do. So that's a pretty achievable goal. It's something small. It's relevant to what we're trying to do. The overall goal is to be healthier, reduce our sodium. So then something relevant to that would be kind of thinking about when we are just kind of adding salt without thinking about it. And then time bound. So maybe we're saying, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to give myself time just to kind of think about it. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm going to actually move the salt and pepper shakers off the table. And I'm going to come sit at the table. And then if I really think I need it, maybe I'll get up again. So again, when we're thinking about goals, really great ways to kind of help ourselves improve. I think sometimes if we don't set goals for ourselves, um, we want to do things, but life happens and we get busy. And if we don't have something in mind, and really, someone to check in with, then sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. So we like to kind of provide that platform just for you to start thinking about it. So if anybody has any goals that they are thinking about, maybe goals you've already set for yourself, you can always unmute or put them in the chat. Again, it's kind of nice to hear from other people when you're trying to set your own goals as well.
Any takers or please put in the chat as well. Thank you. Again, we're gonna go with the hands first, and then we'll see if there's any others with the unmuting, Cassidy. So again, if you have any questions for the group that you want them to answer, please let us know.
Perfect. So yes, if anybody would like to share, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll make sure that I'm looking through as well to make sure I get anybody. Thanks, Mr. Bell. So, USDA My Plate is what we teach from at UDC, and we know that it replaced the food pyramid. So when I grew up, I learned the food pyramid, and I I think I usually got it. I kind of got the gist of it, but I remember never really knowing kind of what it meant, or how I would kind of put it into practice. So I knew the things that I was supposed to eat more of. I knew the things I was supposed to eat less of. But then kind of what does that look like when I'm actually building my meals? So I think that the My Plate is really great for that. I think it's much easier to kind of visually understand what the recommendations are And that's really what this is, right? We know that these are recommendations for what our plate, what we want our plate to look like at each meal. Is it going to look exactly like this every time we eat? Probably not. But if we can think about some of these kind of rule of thumb things and take those into our meals and our meal planning with us, it'll all help. So we know we have 5 food groups, fruits and vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. So, a couple again, kind of rule of thumb things. We want to make at least half of our plate fruits and vegetables. So, a lot of the time, I know, especially when I was growing up, the main star was always the protein. When I grew up, for me, a lot of the time it was red meat, chicken, pork chops, some kind of hearty animal-based protein that was kind of the star of the show. And then it was okay, what are we going to have for a little bit to around that? Maybe some vegetables, maybe some potatoes or rice or something, some grains. But it was kind of the protein was the focus. But we know that we really want our fruits and vegetables to kind of take up the most of our plate at this point. We have so many vital nutrients and things that come from our fruits and vegetables. So we want to make sure that we're really getting enough of those. When we're talking about our grains, we want to make sure that at least half of our grains are whole grains. So, of course, we're talking about things like bread and rice and pasta, oats, all things like that. When we're talking about whole grains, that just means it hasn't gone through that refinement process. So when we think about our refined grains, what actually happens during that process is they take out the really good part of the grain that is the most nutrient dense. And at the end of that process, a lot of the time it is put back in. But if we have our whole grains, we know it's not even going through that process of taking the good nutrients out. Everything's kind of whole, intact, together. So we really want to focus on those whole grains. And there is um, on if you're buying things again like pasta or bread, there is a whole grain stamp. It's a little yellow stamp on the packaging somewhere, and it'll tell you if it is whole grain and how much. So if it's 100% whole grain, it will tell you that. If it's just partially whole grain, it will tell you that as well. So really looking at the packaging and kind of what it tells you, and not just the front. Sometimes the front of the packaging, tells us a lot and is really flashy. But as we kind of get know to look on the other side as well and really read eating. So choosing lean protein is another thing that we want to do. So when we think about lean protein, it's things like skinless chicken. So if we have our chicken, taking that skin off of it is going to make it more lean. If we have things like ground meat, having that lower fat content. So something like 90-10 or 93-7. If we have a fattier cut of meat as well, just trimming some of that fat. And that's something that you can get things kind of pre-trimmed at the store. Sometimes you pay more for that service. But if you have something that does have that on there as well, you can always trim that yourself too. And then, of course, plant protein. We know that that's going to just be lean protein overall. So things like our beans, things like nuts and nut butters, different seeds, all of these are going to be really great plant-based proteins as well. And then for dairy, moving to low fat or fat-free dairy. So we know after the age of 2, the recommendation is to move to that low fat or fat-free. And that's all of our dairy. So when we're talking about dairy, we're not just talking about milk. We want to think about cheese as well, yogurt. So not just 2%, 1% milk, but thinking about the cheese and yogurt as well. Was it Miss Anne? Is your hand raised?
Oh, again, thank you so much, Cassidy, for going over this. I think this definitely ties into your goals slide from the before. So please share maybe one thing from this list that you'll try to do more as a result of the session today. But again, great information. I also shared the My Plate app in the chat. We've talked about it quite a bit with some of our past presenters and ourselves. We've gone through each of those sections in the app as well. So this is some great information as well. So thank you. Anyone else would like to share one of these things that you may want to do a little more and share? Please raise your hand. We love to hear from you. Thank you, Anne, for sharing.
Hi,
Do more.
Kathy. I wanted to ask you about the yogurt. Should you use the probiotic yogurt? Is that the best one?
So the biggest thing when we think about yogurt is really just going to be that fat content, and then added sugar.
Oh,
So as long as you are kind of looking at something that's going to be that non-fat or low fat, and then just be careful about like flavored yogurt. A lot of the time are things like strawberry yogurt or vanilla yogurt. They for some reason add a lot of extra sugar. So what you can do is just if you like flavored yogurt, you could get that non-fat yogurt, and then just flavor it yourself. So the biggest things that we're thinking about with yogurt are going to be fat content, so low fat or fat free, and then again that added sugar. So we just want to make sure if you look on the back of your yogurt, I actually have one.
Yeah, let's just make sure
So
to
if you
keep
look
our
at the
TVs
back
and
of
cell
your
phones in
yogurt,
mind, okay?
thanks, Mr. Bell. When you look at the back of your yogurt, we know that it has the nutrition facts label. So you can actually, there will be a whole line item for your added sugar. So this is just a non-fat plain yogurt, and it has 0% added sugar. So again, a lot of them, especially if they're flavored, things like our vanilla or strawberry, there's going to be a lot of added sugar. So to kind of steer clear of that are the biggest things you want to think about when you're choosing your yogurt.
well, a lot of times I buy the low fat yogurt and put fresh fruit in it, like
Yes, that's
peaches, fresh peaches, especially around this time of the year when we have the fresh fruit uh, available to us. And
yes.
and I know that peanuts is not the one that you should be eating. I keep telling people that. Is it more almonds and maybe cashews?
Definitely almonds, cashews. There are so many really good nuts out there. I do love almonds and cashews. Those are two really great ones. Cashews are really great in a lot of recipes as well. So you can use those in a lot of different ways. Um, but it's kind of also a personal preference thing. The biggest thing that you want to think about when you're choosing the nuts is just that they are going to be plain. So
Okay.
as long as they're not something like honey roasted, you might get almonds, but then if you have them honey roasted, they're going to be really high in things like our sodium and added sugar. So you might have the almond and you'll get the benefits of that almond, but then you kind of uh, that's what we want to worry about. So when we're thinking about nuts, they're really great kind of nutrients and eat them kind of in that raw form when possible. So nothing that has a whole lot of extra seasoning or sugar.
What about walnuts?
Walnuts are great. Same type of thing. We just want to make
Okay.
sure that they're going to be plain and they don't have a lot of extra stuff in them.
Okay, because I use them in baking sometimes. So
Hmm.
I was
Yeah, that's a great option.
just trying to make sure that I was on the right track. Thank you, Cassidy.
Yeah, it sounds like you're way ahead of the game, Miss Ann. You're doing a whole lot of things already. And it's a great point about our kind of eating in season as well. We talk about that a lot. We know that things that are fresh and in season, maybe at farmers markets or like Miss Ann said, are available now, are going to be very nutrient dense if they haven't had to travel a long way. They keep those nutrients. They're going to be fresh for us. they're going to taste really good, and they're going to be cheaper. So if we know something is local, it hasn't had to travel that far, that price is going to be better as well. So don't forget about our farmers markets and things that are coming up that has that more local produce as well. Thanks, Miss Ann. And I think Miss
Thank
Denise.
you, Cassidy. Oh, I usually take care of the hands, Cassidy.
Oh,
It's
sorry. Thank you.
No,
Perfect.
it's okay. No, so that way you could, focus on giving great answers. I love what you just shared. It makes it so easy to be able to be a little more healthier. So thank you so much. Um, but yes, thank you so much. I think that goal for you, Anne, was that low fat or fat-free dairy. So I hope that helps out. Denise, which one of these will you make your
Eh,
goal for the next few weeks?
Well, I have a different one. Hi, Cassidy. It's Denise. Um, I eat cottage cheese, and I like the daisy one, the little small one with the fruit. Yeah, and I eat that a lot. And I can eat it plain also with the chives, but I like cottage cheese. Is that a
Cottage
good?
cheese. That's a great snack. Yeah, cottage cheese is a really great snack. I actually just saw a recipe I tried the other day. It was making like a tortilla wrap out of cottage cheese. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've done it before, but
No, not yet.
it was really good. And it was only cottage cheese and I think a little bit more sprinkled cheese and then just some herbs and spices on top.
Oh, okay.
And it was just baked
Yeah.
at, I believe, 400 for 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it made this really great kind of full wrap.
You're breaking up real bad.
Especially if
I
Yeah,
you're
you
if you
breaking up
look
real bad.
like cottage
Cassie's
cheese
screen went black.
anyway. And it was delicious. To be honest, I would have
Oh,
realized it was cottage cheese if
oh,
I wasn't before. So really
I'm
little we can eat it. And
I'm gonna try that and see
Hey,
how.
Chef, can you hear me?
Cassie's, Cassie's screen went completely black. Okay, it just popped back on now.
Yeah, and you've been breaking up a lot.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me now, Chef?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can.
Yes, Cassidy, we can hear you. You just went out for a second, but you sound
Yeah.
good.
It might be where you sitting at. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
But
Miss Jack, Miss
hey,
Jack,
what's
Miss
up,
Jackson,
Chef?
you
Yeah.
and Cassidy can have all my cottage cheese. Okay, so
Oh, for real? Oh,
feel
okay.
free to have an extra helping of cottage cheese whenever you decide to get some more.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay. Bring it over. I
you have
want.
my.
Okay. Thank you, Cassidy. Hey,
Thank
Chef and
Thank you.
Miranda. Thank you, Alex. Let me share.
Mm-hmm. All right. Again, it's about 2 o'clock. We're about halfway through already. So just keeping the time in mind. Again, what time flies when you're having fun. We're gonna have Mr. Leon, I think, for our last comment for this one. Which one of these will you try to make a goal towards in the next week or two? So how about you, Mr. Leon?
Okay. Actually, I was thinking about definitely want to eat more fruits and vegetables. But the cottage cheese, I noticed it's good to eat and it's a good snack. But what I did was I crushed up walnuts and put in it. That made it a little more tolerable for me, just for anybody who wants to try it.
I hear you there, Mr. Leon. Yeah, I'll pass on it, but I hear you. It's just not one of my favorites. Cottage cheese is just not it's not one of my favorites.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Really appreciate you sharing. Thank you for sharing. So yes.
That's a great
Again, Cassidy, are you there? I think we lost you.
is gonna love everything and we all oh
Hello,
no.
Cassidy, are you there?
Okay, you
Yes, can
back.
you
Okay, you're
Yeah.
back with us now, Cassidy.
sorry about that.
It's okay. We're making it work. We just want to make sure that,
Oh,
yeah.
Chef, do you wanna let me do you want to go ahead and do the demo and I'll check on my internet and come back so we don't keep having to stop? Does that make sense, Mr. Bell?
Yeah, that's fine. Chef Herb, we'd love to have your recipe and then finish with the rest of this wonderful presentation.
Sorry about
Alrighty,
that.
guys.
I'll go ahead and
Not
It's
a
just make
okay.
problem.
sure
Thank
everything's
you for
stable.
working with us.
Awesome.
So,
Yes.
Chef Earl, I'm going to highlight you, okay?
Sure, sure. Okay,
Yes.
guys. Cassidy is getting her connection together. My recipe is a beef noodle, which is really, really easy recipe. I always say the easy recipes, but trust me on this one. This is a one-stop shop. Um, Minimum amount of ingredients. You want a lean ground beef, egg noodles or pasta of your choice. You're gonna need some water, and it calls for a seasoned blend, which is garlic powder, parsley, um, minced onion, and powdered milk, which is really, and some black pepper, which is a nice little blend. It's a salt-free, of course, seasoning. So, without further ado, let me go into my kitchen so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, and everybody can see me pretty good, right?
Yep. You look great. Thank you. And I know Cass will be putting the recipe in the chat when she comes back on. And we had some great comments in the chat while you go to your kitchen. Yvonne shared walnuts are a good alternative to peanuts. Pistachios are good also if you can open the ones with shells. Put berries in smoothies, muffins, and in your Greek yogurt and oatmeal. Yeah, the instant it can be sweetened with sugar. That's why it's so important to take a look at that food label. So I love that. Thank you. Yeah, fresh fruit and cottage cheese sounds so good. I used to not like it so much, but then I guess I got a little older, so it's great. I love that. Chef Herb, are you there?
Can anybody see my workstation right there?
Yes, we can see your workstation, Chef. I see you
Okay.
have a red connection right now, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, I had to go get my
Yeah.
phone and bring my phone back with me, so we could.
Yeah, you look good. It's a different setup. Where's your huge kitchen like last time?
I'm at home today, so
Oh.
I'm not out in the commercial kitchen today. So I'm in my own commercial kitchen today. All righty. So again, this is a really easy, simple recipe to do. And you have options once you get this recipe. If you don't want to do the ground beef, you can always do ground chicken or ground turkey of your choice. So you have those options. So just keep that in mind that you have those options. Okay. I have my ground beef, which is 80%, 85% rather. I have which are gonna go into my brazier here. So I'm gonna turn this on because we're gonna have to brown this first, and then we're gonna add into once we brown this, we have some egg noodles here, which are what I'm using, but the recipe will ask you to use whatever noodles of your choice or whatever pasta of your choice. It doesn't matter. Okay. You're gonna need some water. So I have my cup of water right here. And then again, the seasoned blend, which is again, it's just black pepper, garlic powder. I'm gonna show you. We have minced onion. We have some garlic powder here. We have some parsley, and we have black pepper, and we're using a dry, low-fat milk. Okay, so all we're gonna do is once we ground the beef, everything will go into a pot together. All right. So all I'm doing now is browning my ground beef. Okay. All right. This will actually, you know what this remind you of? If anybody remember those ingredients, this will actually remind you of almost like a beef stroganoff. Okay.
Right. Can you
Similar.
move your camera up so we can see the what's
Yeah,
going on in the pot?
I'm getting ready to bring it up to you right now. So we have all I'm doing now is just browning my beef right now. Okay. So it's similar to a stroganoff. The only difference between this and a stroganoff is I'm not using a liquid milk. I'm not using cream. We're using the powder milk, and which is going to make the sauce along with the water. Okay. So And it's also, we're not using salt. So we know that we stay away from the salt today, but those combinations of those spices will give you a wonderful taste as well, okay? All right.
That
So,
powdered milk is a good idea. I know they hand that out a lot at a lot of the food giveaways and the delivered meals too. So even my friend gave me a bag of powdered milk, so that's a great use for that.
and it's also shelf stable, so
Mm-hmm.
it'll hold up, you don't have to put that in your refrigerator, so it is shelf stable. Okay, so my beef is grounding. And don't forget, guys, when you're doing this, you want to get a low fat beef, okay? Or your ground turkey or your chicken. So you want as low as fat as possible, okay? So when you're doing the beef, just look at your labels and it'll tell you how much percentage of the fat that's in there. But once I brown this and any fat that's on the bottom, I'm going to drain that off before we add anything else to this, okay? And it doesn't take long to brown this. As you can see, my induction heats up pretty high and pretty fast, all right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna continue to brown this, okay? Now, anybody welcome to come over and have dinner with me because it's gonna be dinner. So I got any takers that want to come over and have dinner with me? Come on over. Come on over. All right. Just cooking great, guys. All righty.
Maybe
All right.
a comment or a question. Denise, did you want to share something?
I was raising his hand. I was saying I do.
Come on.
Okay,
Denise,
I love that. I know you would, Miss Denise. So yes, thank
Denise,
you so much.
Denise,
We got some other we got some other hands. Hopefully you guys are some takers as well.
Denise, the door is open, okay? So just come on in, okay? All right. Now, because I use a low fat beef, I don't have a lot of fat going across there. Can you guys see that?
Yes, your screen is going black and white. I'm not sure if you're next to a light source, but
It's the light probably, that's what it is.
yeah.
But it's I don't have a lot of fat in here, which is great. So I did good when I chose my beef, okay? So now we're gonna go in with our water, okay? And we're gonna go in with our noodles. So the noodles is gonna cook right up into this pot all together, okay? All right. And we're gonna add some of our season into this. Then you don't wanna over season it because you're gonna readjust it at the end, okay? All right. Again, I didn't add any salt into this mixture. So make it an overhead shot so you guys can see that what's going on right here. It's everything is mixed in there together right there. So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna put a lid on this and let this cook down until the noodles are tender. So I have my lid on right now. So and all we're doing now, we're just letting this cook down, as you can see. And it doesn't take too long. Like I said, I'm using egg noodles. You guys can use whatever you want. I like to use one of my favorite. I like to use the bow tie noodles, which is really great. Shells will be perfect in this dish as well. So you have that options to use whatever noodles you choose, and the recipe would tell you that as well. And again, I always tell you, make it your own. Do your thing. If you want to do instead of the um the ground beef or turkey or chicken, say you want to do shrimp or some other type of seafood, you have that option, okay? So just keep that in mind. The recipe is going to be basic across the board. You know, at the end, I like to, cut up maybe some scallions to go across the top of the serving bowl at the end, just to give it a little crunch. And you guys, you see my scallions up in my windowsill. I always tell you, I don't buy scallions. I keep growing them. I just keep cutting them, and they keep coming back. Okay.
Yeah,
So
we had a guest. We she showed us how to propagate plants. So our group has done potatoes, scallions, celery, carrots. So it was great. I love that, Chef Herb, that you do that. You know, you get more money for your buck, right?
more money for your buck. That's right. You know, and I don't have to ever have to buy scallions. I just keep going to my windowsill and cutting them off. Make sure you can make sure you change your water though. You got to keep the water changed, okay? I'm gonna
Yep,
grab a
every few
serving bowl.
days.
All right, so I'm just getting my serving bowl ready. It's not ready yet, but I'm just getting the bowl ready. So, because Denise, I already know what you can say. You got to taste it for us so we can see if you like it. So, so I'm getting my spoon and bowl ready for Denise. Okay. All right. So all we doing now is we just pretty much just letting the noodles cook. Okay. And I'm using a light fluffy egg noodle. I'm gonna get an overhead shot so you guys can see a light fluffy egg noodles what I'm using in my dish right there. Okay. Someone says I have all those ingredients. This recipe reminds me, right, of a hamburger helper. Exactly. And it was funny when I was in the store at the checkout line, you know, it was a line, so you look back and you see those sale items on the end of the aisles, right? And I saw the hamburger helper. I said, that's pretty much what we're making today. You know, it's the same thing. You just saving money by making it your own. And not only you saving money, you controlling what's in there because you're putting it in there. It's not a pre-made product, you know, because that I think it comes with a pouch of powder or something like that. We don't know what's in there. You know, some of that stuff I can't even pronounce, you know, but we know all we need is some powder, some dried milk, some water, and some spices, basic spices, and voila, we're good to go. So, you know, we're making our own. So she's cooking down pretty good right now. Can you guys see inside of that pretty good right there? You know, Miss Brenda, you got such a pretty smile on your face right now. uh,
She
let me
actually
put
shared well, Cassidy, if you don't mind putting the recipe in the chat, I think you were gonna put a image or a file in there for that. So I think you just asked for the measurement. So looking forward to that recipe. And then Miss Alice shared I use Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning, salt-free. What do you think of that, Chef Herb?
that's awesome. Anything salt free, I am down for, and I guarantee you, if you talk to her, I bet you she doesn't even miss the salt because you're getting the taste with those other herbs. You don't even miss the salt. Am I right? And you'd be surprised. You won't miss it at all. So if you use the right combination, fresh thyme, garlic, and yellow onion alone will give you almost a sodium taste without the sodium. Believe it or not. Okay. All right. Ooh, I can't wait to get into this, Denise.
Thank you,
Mm.
Cassidy, for the recipe. It looks great. It's again, it's from My Plate's website. So you know, I
I'm
love
gonna tap
that.
here for tenderness. Oh, man, this is so good, guys. I don't know, Denise. You better hurry up and get here. So my noodles are just about there. I said another 2 minutes. And then I'm going to I cranked up the heat a little bit more so it can cook down. As it cooked down, it was starting to thicken up. Let me get an overhead shot. So I turned up the heat now. So and I took the lid off because now what I want to do is I want to thicken it. So how it's going to be thickened is it's going to start to reduce itself down. So some of the liquid is going to start to evaporate since I took the lid off. And as it reduces itself down, it gets a little thicker, okay? Because we don't want to add no roux to this to make it thick. We want to keep it all natural, you know, a gluten-free thickness. So just let it reduce itself down. That powdered milk will help thicken it up, believe it or not, okay? So
Yeah, I
she
mean, you
just,
see the bubbles. That's
yeah.
all the water and liquid escaping from it.
Right, she's starting it and it reduces itself down. So just keep it in mind if you ever want to, you know, thicken up your sauces or stews, you can take some of those vegetables and blend them up and pour that back in there, and that's a gluten-free thickener as well. Okay.
Oh,
So
Brenda shared I would chop an onion to add for additional flavor. Me too.
yeah, you could add, yep, add your onion,
Onions, garlic.
garlic, and right. It doesn't call for garlic, but I'm a garlic fan. I would love to have some garlic in this. But if I were doing this just for me, I would add some garlic to it. But I'm following this recipe for you guys. But again, I tell you each time, make it your own. Do your own thing. All right. So, you know, you have options. You don't have to, you can take and add what you want. Just remember that. Nobody's gonna come and get and arrest you because you didn't follow their recipe. That is not gonna happen. Right. So, you have that option. If you want to throw some vegetables in this, you can do that. Some peas, some carrot, some corn, it'd be perfect in something like this. All right. Oh yes, God.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I don't miss the salt at all for that Cavender season, and I know that's right.
You don't miss it at
Um,
all.
hey, Miss Dina, did you have a comment or just wanted to share something?
Wow, guys, this
Yes,
is
I have to say, seeing is believing and tasting also. Uh, for a while now, I have had chef fix all my meals. And also, now he has struck my son, and he's starting to eat the meals also, but he cooks very well, very conscious of food that you need to eat that's healthy. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you ever want to really try his food, to try it.
I,
I
I do
love that, Miss
appreciate the
Dina.
public service announcement. That is wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you so much
And
for
he's
sharing.
a very kind man, and his wife comes along with him. So it's very nice.
That is so good. Thank you so much.
Sure.
The guys, I
Love that,
just
Miss
just
Dina.
plated this up. I don't know about you, but it so looks good to me. And
Oh
I
yeah. Raise your hands, you guys, if you would eat that meal, just maybe how it is, or add a little, flavor flav and a little garnish. Please raise your hand. If you think Mr. Chef did a good job and it looks good, you would have that maybe as one of your meals. Let's raise our hands. Okay, let's
look at all
we
those
got eight
look at all those
hands.
hands going up.
Come on, we
All
got
those
about
hands
40
going
folks
up.
on. If you like this meal, if you enjoyed the live cooking demo, if you would make this yourself, if you're gonna check out the recipe in the chat, raise your hand, you guys.
I feel like this is a standing ovation. I like all them hands going up, guys.
Yes, yeah. So I see in the chat we had about I would eat it if it was turkey. Okay, yeah, I love ground turkey. That would be really
Have that
good.
option. You do have the option to use whatever protein that you
Hmm
want. So just
Cassidy
remember,
said ground chicken. That sounds
yes,
good. Miss Kim
yes,
said you need some cheese. Okay, maybe some low fat or fat-free cheese, some
yes.
vegan cheese maybe.
It's not easy being cheesy, but yes, that's right. But guys, again, this is a really easy, simple recipe to do. This is your own stroganoff. This is your own beefaroni. What did we say? What is it called? We just said it. They call it in the store, but you're making it yourself. You're controlling what's in there, and it doesn't. You see, this didn't take long to do. Okay, and the
No,
egg
it was like
noodles.
10 minutes, 15
Yeah,
minutes, less or
egg
less.
noodles are. I like to use the fluffy egg noodles because it doesn't take too long to cook. You
No,
know,
like 2, 3 minutes.
exactly 2 3 minutes. So I don't want you guys in the kitchen all day, all night trying to cook a meal. Go in there, put this on, and by the time you sit down and turn on the TV, it's ready to go. So you can freeze this, cool it down, package it up, portion it out, however you're going to eat it, and go to your freezer and freeze this for you have a meal when you don't feel like cooking. You already have it already ready to go. You have it already portioned out. Okay, but simple, easy to do. All right. If there's no more questions or comments for me, I will turn this back over to Cassidy. Cassidy, you still here with us, right?
Yeah, I think we'll answer any questions or comments at the end. So if you have a question or comment for Chef Herb, make sure you save them for the end. And look, I love this. I've made something like this before. Someone said I'm making this today. I love that. Someone said that's
Ooh,
looking good. And Mr. Ronald said keep on trucking, Chef. So thank you so
that's what
much, Chef Herb.
I'm. And I'm glad that someone is going to fix this tonight. And I can't wait to hear your feedback when we come back next time we get together. I want to hear, I want to hear how you adapted this recipe, or how your family adapted to the recipe, or how they enjoy the recipe. So I want to hear those feedback, guys. And if you want to take some pictures of some of your stuff, I would love to also highlight your food on our website, okay?
Yeah, use your iPads, use your devices, take those pictures of those meals. I think someone said they're making them today, so make sure you take that picture and share with me or share with us next time we're together. Hey, Cassidy, hope everything is okay. And thanks so much for hopping back on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for working with me, and thank you, Chef Herb, for that awesome recipe. And just like you all were saying in the chat, and as Chef Herb said, you always want to make it your own. And decide that if you decide that you would like ground chicken, ground turkey, anything like that, you could even do something like mushrooms. I really love mushrooms and I put them in a lot of my pasta dishes. So if you're somebody that is trying to go more of the plant-based route, you could always try something that's a little hearty like that as well. But definitely reminded me of a beef stroganoff as well. Brought me back to being younger. But as Chef said, if you make it yourself, you really can control what's in there. And because we're talking about reducing that sodium, then it's making your own things like seasoning mixes. We do have the recipe. I put the recipe in the chat for the beef noodles. And then it also in that recipe has a link for the actual seasoning mix. So you'll have to, click again to get the actual mix. But that was super simple as well. Um, so I am still unfortunately not able to share my screen. I'm on my phone, but what I wanted to do was just, I know we have about 20 minutes left, so just talk a little bit about our salt, sodium, and herbs and spices. And then, of course, we'll send the presentation, so you'll have all this information as well. There's not a whole lot more to really see except the information, so you'll get that as well. So we do know that salt and sodium are a lot of the time kind of used interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. So we know sodium is a naturally occurring mineral that either occurs naturally and is also added during manufacturing. But then table salt is a combination of sodium and chloride. So it's not just that naturally occurring mineral anymore. We know that sodium is actually essential for life. So it is something that is regulated by our kidneys and really helps with a lot of things, including fluid balance, nerve impulses, muscle function. One of the biggest things I think of is athletes when we're talking about things like a sports drink. One of the biggest things about the sports drink is that it's going to replenish those electrolytes, right? And part of that is sodium. But when we're thinking about athletes and the thing with Gatorade, obviously, is going to be a lot of added sugar and things like that, and different dyes and things that we're going to have to we would talk about as well. But the biggest thing for athletes is to kind of to recharge your body. And that's what the sports drink would do. But we do know that too much sodium, kind of with anything, in moderation, we want to kind of know how much we're having, because too much sodium can lead to things like high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease. A lot of different factors go into when we have too much sodium. So we know that the general recommendation is about 2,300 milligrams of sodium each day, and that's equal to only about a teaspoon of salt. So if we're thinking about, again, if I'm thinking about my dad who sits down and before every meal grabs that salt shaker, he is getting more than a teaspoon of salt if at every meal he's going to immediately run for the salt, right? So just when we're thinking about it and kind of planning through our day, that's another reason that we want to make certain things ourselves when possible, like our mixes, because especially if you get kind of like an all-purpose mix that just has a salt already in it, then we can't always tell how much we're using. But if we make our own mixes and things like that, then we can control it. So a little bit about herbs and spices as well. We know the herb is the edible green or leafy part of the plant, and the spice is the other parts of the plants, things like roots, seeds. A lot of the time, these are going to be dried. Um, we know that there are more than 100 common spices used in cooking, and of course, they can come in fresh, ground, dried, whole, lots of different ways. Just one example we have is, so if we have cilantro, that's going to refer to kind of that leaf part of the coriander plant. So we can think about cilantro, which of course we use in a lot of different dishes, rice, tacos, the list goes on, ceviche, all different kinds of things that cilantro is really good for. But then when we think about coriander, the first thing I think about when I think about coriander is my chili recipe. So we know that they're not necessarily going to be used interchangeably, but they are actually from the same plant. So again, the leafy part is going to be the cilantro, and that spice part is going to be the seed of the same plant. But again, that's going to be our coriander. So just something, a little bit of a food for thought when we're thinking about different herbs and spices. It's kind of fun to, learn what they are and how to use them really well. And I will put Chef Herb on the spot. He's a really great resource if you're ever wondering, oh, what goes well with this kind of cooking or that kind of cooking. Always a good resource. Really quickly, to some of our benefits of herbs and spices. A lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So we know that's going to fight against inflammation, will help things like joint stiffness, pain, fever, different things like that. Antibacterial, antimicrobial. So it can actually slow or inhibit the growth of that foodborne bacteria that makes food unsafe. Um, and then anti-nausea. So of course, when we think about, I always think about anti-nausea. My mom used to give me peppermint in the car, like peppermint sticks, because I would get car sickness. So a lot of the time when I'm thinking about anti-nausea, it's that peppermint. But we know, of course, things like ginger and chamomile can also help with that. And then antioxidants, which we know can slow or prevent damage to our cells and helps our body fight off a lot of different diseases and kind of promotes healthy aging. And things like our cinnamon, oregano, thyme, rosemary, those are all really great herbs and spices that are going to give us those antioxidants as well. So, one of the things we talk about is also kind of eating a range of different things. So, when we're talking about fruits and vegetables, we say to eat the rainbow because you want to eat all different colors to be able to get all of those benefits. And kind of the same thing with our herbs and spices. If we use different herbs and spices, we're going to get kind of a litany of benefits. So, a lot of different options. You don't have to really love, one specific thing. There are a lot of different things. So everybody's, spice cabinet will look a little bit different, but so many of them have, or they all have really great benefits for us. A little bit about storing fresh herbs. So fresh herbs we know are best stored in the refrigerator. We do want to thoroughly rinse them and then kind of pat them dry with a paper towel. Um, and then if we have things like basil, for example, a jar can actually be kept at room temperature with that basil. I have some in my window right now that I keep kind of just in a little jar of water and replenish that water, and it just kind of grows in the windowsill. Basil is one that I kind of use with a lot of different things, so it's one that I like having around. And then those more kind of robust or hardier herbs, we can actually wrap in a damp paper towel and keep them in the crisper drawer. So that's going to be things like rosemary, thyme, sage. Again, those that are a little bit more robust, that won't really wilt as easily when we think about our fresh herbs. And then ground or dried herbs and spices. There are obviously all different ways to keep these as well. We want to make sure that they are going to be tightly covered and usually in like a cool, dark place. A lot of people will have things like the glass jars. You can obviously keep them in the container it comes in, just make sure that it's kept closed and stays in that kind of airtight container. We don't, one tip for those is we don't want, a lot of the time we keep them near the stove because that's when we're using them, right? But we just want to make sure that we don't keep them too close to the stove because the heat and the moisture actually from the cooking will shorten their lifespan. So we don't want to have them, if you think about, having a spice cabinet maybe right above your um, oven or right to the side of the stove, or even in the cabinets kind of above, then we're thinking about that moisture from the cooking when it actually is in the process of cooking that can shorten that lifespan.
And you guys, you know my motto with the fresh. I always tell you guys, if you want to infuse your favorite oil with those fresh herbs as well, that will also help you to prolong those fresh herbs. So you can get your little jar and just drop that, fill it up with your, say, some olive oil, and you drop that fresh basil or thyme or whatever those fresh herbs in, the rosemary, and it will actually flavor that oil for you. So you can use that to saute or use it for dressings. And I always say, don't stop there. Add some garlic, some onions, other seasons to that, and that way it's a one-stop shop. And now you done save those herbs without having to throw them in the trash can, because you get especially the fresh ones. You buy a pack, you need a little bit, so most time we let the rest of it go bad. But those are just other ways. So thank you, Cass, for letting me interrupt you.
Yeah, always. Um, So yeah, just another, again, Chef Herb's a wealth of knowledge about a lot of these things. But another great way to that, happens to me as well. I'm thinking, okay, where I'm using it, then sometimes I let those fresh herbs go bad. So a great way to keep that from happening. When we're talking about kind of the amounts to use, when we're talking about fresh versus dried, excuse me, 1 tablespoon of fresh is going to equal about 1 teaspoon of dried, whatever herb we're using, herb or spice we're using, and then about a half a teaspoon of the ground version of that. So 1 tablespoon, and I'll actually 1 tablespoon of is about 1 teaspoon of whatever dried version, and then a half a teaspoon of the ground. And a good kind of way to start this is to start with a little bit and kind of adjust as needed. Chef Herb talks a lot too about your spices kind of come back to you when you're cooking as well. So if you are, worried about it not tasting a certain way, give it a minute, kind of let it cook a little bit and try it again. And then you can always adjust. But you can't take spice out. You can't take, seasoning out. So you want to start kind of on the smaller end, and then you can always again adjust as needed. If we're thinking about doubling a recipe, so maybe the recipe is for 2 people, we're cooking for 4, or vice versa. Maybe the recipe is for 4 and we're trying to cut it down to 2. We don't need to double or kind of just have whatever we're doing. If we're doubling a recipe, then we don't want to double the amount of spice. We just want to increase by about 50%. So say we have a recipe that is calling for a tablespoon of cilantro, let's say, but we know we want to double that. We won't double to 2 tablespoons of cilantro. We'll just go to 1.5 tablespoons. So again, when the same type of thing, we want to kind of start a little bit smaller and then adjust as needed. So you can always, add a little bit more if necessary. But again, just kind of try to start on the more conservative end, and then we'll work our way up from there. Right. And then just the last couple of things, as we think about nutrition, we think about physical activity, but also kind of that mental part of it as well. So a lot of wellness is kind of keeping that stress level down. So we have some herbs that help with that as well. Things, of course, like lavender. I was taught a long time ago to have a little bit of lavender in the air during a bath for my kids because it helps them to calm down a little bit before bedtime. Chamomile, again, when we think about sleepy time tea, a lot of the time it's going to be chamomile. Things like lemon balm, a lot of different kind of naturally occurring things that can help just reduce our stress level a little bit. And I think, everybody, we think about wellness, we're thinking about what we're eating and how active we are, but sometimes we're not thinking about kind of keeping that stress level down. So just another thing to think about with these herbs is that they can do that as well. So that is all I had. I am going to go ahead and I'll put the seasoning mix link in the chat as well. Again, you can get there from the beef and noodles recipe, but I'll go ahead and put that seasoning mix in there for you as well. But thank you all so much for working with me. And thank you, Chef Herb, as always. And thank you, Mr. Bell, for having us.
Oh, thank you, Cassidy, and thank you, Chef Herb. Any questions before we end for today? But let's make sure to stay on for the poll, and Cassidy's going to talk about that as well. But any comments, any questions for Chef Herb or Cassidy on the session today? Any reactions? How it made you feel? Please raise your hands, and we'll take these last few minutes so that way we can hear from you guys about how you felt about the session today. But thank you once again for a wonderful session. I know last time we all talked about eating a variety of colors, which was great. And then this time we talked about reducing sodium with herbs and spices. So I really did enjoy, again, the session. And I don't normally eat during our sessions, but I wanted to show you guys, again, I'm eating a salad right here. And I have a lot of different colors like corn and tomatoes and lettuce. Again, it took me about 10 minutes to get ready, and then I had some fresh parsley and oregano and basil. So I didn't have to use that much salt, and it makes it taste amazing, and I feel good about it. So I hope that inspires you all today as well. And maybe with that, a beef stroganoff to make a nice salad for yourself today as well, to
Yes.
get at least half of that plate, fruits and veggies, you know?
You always can go to my watermelon salad. Mr. Bell had the chance to see me do my presentation in live last week, so that was great.
Oh yeah, I made sure to let the phone. I would try to catch the end, but unfortunately, you were done before we were done, Mr. Chef Herb. So hope to see the next one. But you gave some great tips, so I appreciate that. We have a couple of hands, so again, just keeping the time in mind, you guys. But thank you so much. We got Yvonne, and then we have Miss Celeste. Any questions, comments, reactions for either of our guests
Oh,
today?
absolutely. Thank you so much. And Alex, we forgive you for eating during our session today. This is an exception.
Thank you, Yvonne.
That salad looks so good. But anyway, Chef Herb, it's always good to see you, and Cassidy, of course. I had never heard what Cassidy shared with us about our spice cabinets being so close to the stove, because in most cases, we have those cabinets, as I do, right above my cooking stove. So Cassidy, I think, shared that might impact the shelf life of those spices. Can you elaborate a little more on that? And I just want to say, I tasted your watermelon salad at the Senior Fest when you had it over at University of the District of Columbia, and that is a very good salad. So thank you so much. It's always good to see you, Chef Herb and Cassidy. And thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Irvin. Always good to see you too.
And Ms. Irvin, I think what Cassidy was referring to is that the heat plays a factor in your dry herbs. It just shortened the lifespan because it's so close to the stove, and them cabinets absorb more heat than the ones that are farther away from the stove. So it will impact the shelf life of a lot of those herbs and other stuff that you have in those cabinets near the heat source, okay? All right.
Yeah, we again, I shared our herbs and spices conversation we had last year, and we learned about shelf life of those dried herbs, especially they can go bad. So
Yeah.
keeping it in dry and cool place. And that's also a great tip about the steam and the, cooking fumes and gases when you're above the stove. So mine's pretty far off to the side, so I feel good at my placement. So I love that. Um, we got Celeste and then Miss Anne. Thank you. Any questions, comments, reactions for today?
I've been, eliminated salt from my diet because it's, it's not good for you, as far as you get older. It's really not good. And chef, that I now I know what to do with hamburger now. So it looked good.
Thank you.
It
Look,
really
Great
looked
idea,
good.
Miss Celeste, to make a
And
burger
I
out of it.
love pasta and hamburger. So now I know what to do. And that hamburger helper is really salty. It's
right.
salty. So
So that's now you can control how do you make your own because you're adding and so you have control over that. So that's why I always encourage to get in the kitchen and cook, from scratch because you can control that aspect of, what you're fixing because you putting it in. Okay.
yes. But thank you very much. And Cassidy, I wanted to know your take on ice cream that's dairy free. Because I like ice cream and I started eating dairy free ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, the biggest thing with ice cream that we're gonna think about is just added sugar. So there are a lot out there, especially if we're talking about like a sorbet, that might be more dairy free. There are a lot out there now, that aren't gonna have as much added sugar. So that's really the big thing that we're gonna want to look at. So just like with the yogurt, if we just flip around, to the nutrition facts label on the back, it'll always tell you how much. So we know, of course, some fruit's going to have our fruit is going to have some naturally occurring sugar. So it'll tell you how much sugar in general, but then it'll also tell you how much of that added sugar is in there. So we just want to make sure that we keep that as low, or just not existent as possible. So when we're talking about ice cream in general, of course, we're thinking about the dairy and
Sugar.
the fat of the dairy, but then anything that's non-dairy, the biggest thing is going to be that sugar. Yeah.
Sugar. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks, Miss Celeste.
Thank you so much. Yes, we had a group did us. I know you guys are going to be talking about reading food labels in one of your later sessions, but we also had a great provider also talk about reading food labels. So it's really important that you look at those when you're shopping in the store, so you can know
Yeah.
what's in something and make comparisons. So thank you so much for again all these great tidbits of info. It's really helpful. We got Anne and then Ms. Brenda next, and then Mr. Leon, and I think we'll end for today if there aren't any other questions.
I wanted to ask about the oregano, and the seafood. If I put some crab meat in there, is it okay to just put a little pinch of Old Bay, or you have another seasoning that you would use?
No, it's your preference. Whatever you like, and it's okay to put a pinch in there at the end, okay? And just remember, if you're doing crab meat, a lot of times the crab meat has a little sodium in it, okay? So you just want to be careful on how much you use, but you will add that at the end, okay? Even with the crab meat, you will put that in at the very end as well, because that's already going to be cooked.
Cook.
So
Uh-huh.
so just remember, like Cassidy was telling you earlier, you can always add, but you can't take out. So at the end, just do your taste buds a little at a time, and till you're satisfied with the taste that you want. And whatever obey or whatever season you want to use, it's your preference, whatever you like. Okay. Because just remember, you're doing it around your taste buds, so it's okay. And like I said, start off with a pinch or less until you achieve what you're looking for. And then you say, you know what? Oh, I got enough. This is it. But at the end, okay? And you want to
And
make sure. Mhm.
I'm sorry. Please forgive
No,
me.
you're fine. No, you're fine. I was saying you just want to balance it out with the saltiness from the crab meat as well. So you just want to lessen that, okay?
Okay. And the canned vegetables, they give us a lot of that. But I found out when you open the can, like you rinse the
Mm-hmm.
you take drain that water off and put fresh water, and then put
Exactly.
seasoning. Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that is all your, because it's all that preservative that holds its shelf life. It has a lot of stuff in it, so it's right. You drain that off and you rinse that off, and then you're good to go. Okay.
Okay, thank you, chef. Have a good day. I
You too.
loved your recipe because I made hamburger helper. My son used to love it, but I had found a way, but your way was a little bit better. So I'm gonna I had done it with some rice.
Take
But
those pictures, Ann. Take those
yeah, I like
pictures.
those. So thank
Send
you, dear.
send it to
Have
me,
a good day.
Ann. Okay.
Thank you, Miss
Hmm.
Ann.
Have a blessed day.
You too,
We want to
dear.
see those pictures from you guys, okay? Make sure you send those pictures. When you make this meal that you made today, we want to definitely be highlighted from UDC Snap Ed. So make sure you send those pictures to myself, my email, okay? We got Brenda and then Mr. Leon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chef Herb, for this recipe. My grandchildren are coming over again today for dinner. And this is what I'm going to prepare them for dinner. And they would love it. They like macaroni. And I didn't have any egg noodles. So I'm going to use macaroni, just boil it a little bit and
There you
let it
go.
finish cooking it with the mixture. And I'm
Exactly.
using ground turkey and ground chicken. I thought I had two of each, but I
That
don't.
sounds delicious, Brenda.
So, and I'm gonna throw an onion in there with it.
There you
As
go.
you should.
So make it your own. Do your thing, and
Yes.
even the recipe tells you that you have your choice of pastas. You don't have to use egg noodles. So, and I like how you're thinking. You're using what you have at hand.
Right.
Not to go to the store. So that is
Yeah,
awesome.
you save
So
money and you waste less food and you using what you got and makes you feel good. So
Yes.
kudos
that's
to that, Miss
I,
Brenda. Take
And the
those
kids
pictures,
are gonna
okay?
love it. I know they are.
what
Take
time I
that
need to
picture
bring my
for us.
fork over there? What
Okay,
time?
all right. I'm pulling my stuff out the pantry now
All right.
so I can get started. Yes.
Have fun, Miss Brenda. I can't wait to
Thank
talk to
you.
you. Back.
And I'll take a picture too.
Please do.
I sure will.
You know how to send it to me, Brenda.
I sure will. Yeah, I'll take a picture.
I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Mhm. Oh yeah, Chef Herb's gonna be with us every single time. You know what I'm saying, you all? So once you make that recipe, and it's so easy. I swear he brings us some great recipes. So take those pictures and send it to us, and send it to me. I love it. How about you, Mr. Leon? Thank you so much for your patience. Any questions, comments, reactions for today?
My question was to the chef, and it was about preserving your herbs and vegetables in oil.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell me just a little bit more about that? You could put
I
them in
think
the
he meant
oil.
mixing. I think he meant combining the herbs, like making like basil oil or parsley oil. Is that what you were saying,
Whatever the
Chef
fresh.
Herb?
Right. When you buy the fresh herbs, say we brought some fresh thyme, okay? And
Mhm.
you just need just a handful and you still have a bunch left, right?
Mhm.
So what do you do? I like to take a jar and fill it up with some oil, some olive oil or vegetable oil, and I drop those fresh herbs right in there and it would flavor up that oil. But I won't stop there. I'll put some garlic in there. I'll put up some onions in there. I'll add some other seasons to that. So now it's already flavored. So if I need to saute something, it's already flavored up. I don't have to add anything else. Or I can use it as a salad dressing as well. You can use it over top of some pasta as well. But those are ways to prolong those fresh herbs. And if you don't want to use the jar, you can use the ice trays with the little compartments in it, and you do the same exact thing, but then you freeze it. And once it's all frozen, you pop them out and put them in a Ziploc bag. Label that bag. This is my fresh thyme infused cubes. So now you put it back in the freezer. So now all you got to do is reach in the bag and grab one cube and drop it in your saute pan or into your pasta or whatever. It's already seasoned up and you're good to go.
Okay. My last part of my question: how long can you leave those herbs and spices in that oil before you have to change them?
It keep them in. I like to keep them in the dark cabinet, away from the heat source, of course.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and that way they won't go ranching on you. But you want to use it up. You can get a couple of months out of it, but just look at it so it don't get too rancid. Okay. So you want to use it up. It's just like I was telling people, you go to lot of those big box stores like Target or what have you. You see them jars with the peppers and everything in it sitting out there. You're just making your own, and you're saving money by making your own. But you want to use it up, as not as quickly as you can, but as soon as you can, so it won't go rancid. But freezing, like I said, if you didn't want to do that method, just do the ice tray one, and you'll be just fine. Okay. Just remember, nothing is going to last forever. Eventually, stuff will break down, but light and heat plays a big factor on a lot of products that in your kitchen.
Many
The
different
light coming.
things.
Yes, so you just want to be mindful of that. That's why in a dark, cool place, it'll actually it'll slow the preservation down a little bit of it. So just keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah, anything natural, even like olive oil, you have to
Yeah.
store it in the right way. Otherwise, yes, it's if it's natural, just give it a
Mhm.
little bit more care. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's a great tip. Um, which oil would be good to what's good to infuse, Chef Herb?
Any
I know folks are trying to stay away from the seed, or I've learned, and from the seed oils and things of that nature. So, what do you recommend for that process?
I'm an olive oil fan, so I love
Mhm.
olive. So that's what my preference. But again, it's what you like to use. Okay, so just keep it in mind. Don't somebody you may want avocado oil. I don't know. It's just your preference. Okay, so just keep it in mind, and you want to just keep it. Don't spend the excess money that you don't have to spend. So let's talk about that first of all. Save some of that money. I got a birthday coming up, so if you want to, but no, I don't want you to. Don't try do things that you haven't been doing or use products that you haven't been using. Just do your thing and just be mindful of what you're using, how you're using it. Is it one better than the other? I can't really answer that because I know what I like and you know what you like. Okay. So if that was able to answer your question a little bit.
Thank you so much, Chef Herb. I love olive oil. It's so good, but everything in moderation. I think that's
Yes.
we use that today. I share it all the time. Everything in life, you can't have too much. So.
Right.
Well, again, time flies when we're having fun. I really appreciate you, Cassidy, for coming on, and again, Chef Herb, for your wonderful live demonstration. Any final thoughts for today, and maybe one overall tip that you learned and that you want to, share again with our seniors? Any thoughts, Chef Herb or Cassidy?
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
you
yes,
Sorry.
yeah,
I thought you
yes.
were posing the question. If I just remember everything in moderation, okay? Don't be afraid of using fresh herbs and spices, okay? You if you're not familiar with it, you can always contact us and we can do some demonstrations or some lessons around that. But, if you want to try something, try it, start off small, okay? And then work your way up. You want to get the natural taste for something, but don't be scared. Don't be afraid to experiment, okay? And you'd be surprised, what you will put together and come up with your own little recipe. But just, try something you haven't tried before, okay? And if you are not familiar with it, just let us know. We will help you guys with that, okay? But I want you to think out the box a little bit. Next time you go to the store, you say, you know what? I've used fresh I've used dried oregano. I see the fresh oregano. So let me buy some fresh oregano and taste the difference. And you be like, wow, these herbs are the fresh is so vibrant, so the bouquet is just like that. So just don't be afraid to think out the box or try out the box a little bit. Okay, I give it to you, Cass.
Great.
Thanks, Chef Herb. Great tips as always. For me, I think overall, when we're thinking about our entire wellness journey, think about trying to create some of those goals. Just they can be small, they can be things that that are going to be achievable for you. I'm not saying, we never want anyone to try to make every change overnight. It's not sustainable. So you make small changes, set small goals, and that really does make a lasting impact. And it can switch to more of a lifestyle change instead of something that you might do for a couple weeks and then either forget about or just can't sustain or something like that. And as Chef Herb said, we're always here as a resource. If you need somebody to check in with about your goals, if you just want to talk about it, if you have anything really on your wellness journey that you want to share with us, we're always here. So thank you for spending the time with us. Again, thank you for bearing with me, everyone. And we can't wait to see you again. And thank you so much, Mr. Bell. It's a great group.
Thank you, Cassidy and Ms. Chef Herb. Again, make sure you all stay on so you can complete our poll for today. But before we do, let's all say thank you so much to Cassidy and Chef Herb today for their wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
man.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Cassidy.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Chef.
you.
Thank
Great
you.
session.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much. I
you.
learned